but nice. I'm gonna do like a cheesy intro real quick. Cool. Hi, welcome to another episode of Personal Questions. Awesome guest this episode. I don't know how to do this quite yet. I'm still learning how to do the intros and everything like that. But yeah, this show's all about personal questions and asking questions that normally are a little bit awkward, but mostly trying to be a bit more vulnerable with each other in general, but hopefully trying to create a dialogue around men being more vulnerable than they normally are.
And the whiskey is just a nice touch.
The whiskey is helpful. The old rule is that we had to finish the bottle. I'm gonna lax on that rule because I don't really feel like killing Jordan or Cole. Yeah. Especially since this is Cole's first time in my home. I feel really terrible. I'm pretty sure cops get called for things like that. Yeah. So, in general, I'm gonna ask you guys a bunch of questions, and then at the end, you guys can either ask me a question. Cole will have first dibs on that. Okay. But I think I'll start with Matt.
Cheers first.
Cheers. Oh yeah, it's actually cheers. So, first question. I think everything's still rolling and all that. When's the last time that you felt fully in control of your life? So yeah, by the way, all questions are bangers on this one because each person.
So it's like I'm gonna sting the alcohol, and then we just go right into the
each person. Since I'm only asking each person a question instead of like, oh, we can all answer the same one, and like
that's what I had.
You have that time to like relax a little bit. You just don't know what your question's going to be.
You're done right now.
Okay.
So I'm asking him this one on purpose, for many reasons.
Okay.
So here's the question. When's the last time that you felt fully in control of your life? Like you're the arbiter of your own fate, you're creating your own destiny, you're the one that is like actually in control instead of like life is really kicking my ass right now, or other people are really seeming to like derail me or anything like that.
I think it's kind of a two-edged sword. No.
Double-edged sword?
Double-edged sword?
There it is.
Well, it's a. I can answer your question by completely like saying I don't necessarily even believe in that premise anymore because like the older I get, the more experiences I go through, the more I'm like I'm not in control. And so the most recent experience, I locked myself away in a cabin for 3 days to go write a script I've been meaning to write for a while. A lot of stuff I've been wanting to work on. Like there's that idea of like if you're a director, like you'll find a good script and then. You go direct it, but like there's really no script no one comes up and says, here, direct this. So I'm like, well, fine, I'm going to write the thing I want to direct. And the thing about locking yourself away in a cabin for 3 days is that you're completely free of the life and the structure that you've built for yourself, and it's absolutely paralyzing when that's taken away. And this is right after I'd gone through a breakup the previous week, and so here I am feeling absolutely foolish about like, I think I can write a script. I think I can be a director. I think I can handle relationships. And I'm just like lay in my bed, completely paralyzed for like a good 2 hours and just stare at the ceiling. And this whole romantic notion of like, I'm going to go make a film is like completely derailed by my inability to feel. And that I've been so busy that there'd been all this stuff underneath the surface. And so the first day was just addressing the fact that like, all right, these feelings are here. Yeah. This is not what I planned. Second day was like, well, they can be here and I can still do what I need to do. And so that day I wrote all 14 pages. It just kind of woke up at like 10, wrote till 11, watched E.T. in the middle of the day. Okay. And like, just to give myself a little bit of a breather. But by the end of the day, I realized like, I actually enjoyed writing. And it was when you don't have people, when I didn't have people around me that I was trying to convince that this was worth the time, that this was worth the effort, that I will prove you right, that like this idea is a good idea. When it was just me being able to say like, I think this would be good. And there was a few choices in the script where I've been like, okay, the right choice would be to do this. But I really just want to cut to the chase and do this. I just got to do that. And so coming back from that trip, it was just kind of like enough of a break to realize like I have control in certain areas.
Right.
I can say I'm going to go write this script, but also like realizing like there's some stuff I don't have control over. Like I will feel shitty for a long time. Things are really hard right now.
Yeah.
And
can I interrupt you for a minute? So
yes.
like, which moment did you actually feel in control? Was it when you were actually writing the script, like the second day, or because you obviously didn't feel in control the first day?
No.
You were very much derailed from breakup, life, don't have your normal patterns, like how do I even start? Starting is really hard. When was the moment that you're like, I've got this? Was it after E.T.? Was it before E.T.?
It was after E.T. and it was when I had finished the first draft of the script, where I was like, I've arrived at the ending point that I set for myself. Like, I did it. Like, it was just like this nice delineation of things I can control and things I can't.
Okay.
I can control finishing the script, even though I can't control how I feel doing that.
Okay.
Like, I felt pretty weak writing it. And I sent you an email saying, I have the script finished. If this is terrible, and I'm just going to spend the rest of my time polishing a turd, please let me know. I don't know if this is good or not.
That's actually verbatim.
But yeah.
Was that how you felt? Like, did you feel like this is a toss-up? This could be bad?
Because I was out on such a far limb, I really was like, there is no precedent of like, oh, this is like that, and that was good. Or like, it was like this, and that was bad. I was like, I have created something that is just kind of like, it is. Right. And like, from here on out, we'll decide if it's good or not, type of thing.
But you think it's good.
What?
But you think it's good.
I think it's fucking great.
It's great.
Like,
awesome.
This is the kind of thing I would want to watch. So
did you feel that way when you finished?
That's a good question.
No.
Oh.
Because I was so tuned into like, just like you kind of disassociate, and it was dealing with a really difficult topic of my dad's diagnosis with cancer, and just kind of like the couple months of like life after that. And it was so rough. Like I would stop to like just kind of like cry for 10 minutes and then hop back in. And so when you're so close to material, you're just kind of like, here it is. And it wasn't until I went back and I was like, okay, this actually kind of is like on the right track.
You were working through the emotions in the midst of it, and were able to be a little bit more objective after the fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
How did you get there? How
where?
did you get to that place in your life where you're able to objectively work through those areas where it's difficult?
That's such a good question.
I'm
like, whoa. I'm like, I don't.
No,
have you?
Right, because I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, I'm like, well, God, that sounds amazing, but I'm like, how did he arrive to that place, like where you're able to pause, go back into it? Because I know for me, when I get into it, it's like me like fighting to come out of it. So just wondering, how did you, what were some of the things that you told yourself to sort of help you navigate through that?
I think it has been years of therapy has really helped.
Okay.
I like growing up in
therapy is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Up until about my mid-20s, I was emotionally volatile. Still am.
Okay.
But like no one had ever told me like, hey, what's happening is blank. You're feeling this because blank. Okay. And through therapy, I was able to recognize when my feelings kind of deviate. I can, generally speaking, recognize like, hey, this is a really intense feeling. It might be trying to say something. What is it saying? And my problem is I just don't like to listen. And that's why getting up to the cabin was like...
I can toast it.
So this tattoo is actually like a reminder to say yes to pain. Because when there's a painful thing in front of me, I will find every way around it with the exception of like going straight through it.
Okay.
So...
That's good, man.
That's awesome. That's... Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's taking a while. It's a lot of work.
Hard to do.
So the next question is it's kind of twofold. I'm gonna ask you next.
Okay.
Because neither of these guys actually know you. I have the benefit of like we've worked together on a couple projects.
Right.
Very excited about those projects. Right. Our relationship is just at the very beginning of a long one. I'm very pumped about it.
Yeah,
but they don't know anything about you.
Right.
And neither does the people that watch the show. All 20. There's more than that. But I'm going to ask you a question, but I want to, if there is backstory at all that helps to inform this question, it might be useful just so that there's some context.
Okay.
But maybe not. Maybe you just go right into answering the question. That's also fine, and then we can unpack that kind of stuff later. But this is a tricky one because it's not. It's not as. It might be heavy, but it might not. So culturally, everyone rants and raves about love. Like, love is like the end all be all. That's all there is to it. But I wanted to ask you your take on your own specific experiences with love, because you have had many different experiences with love that aren't like, I would say, stereotypical.
Yeah.
So culturally, like in the movies, is love all it's cracked up to be? Is it a load of crap? Do you subscribe to like, yes, this is the air I breathe? Like, help me understand love for you.
Okay, so for me, I think what I learned is love isn't.
That's a big question, by the way.
But it's. I think it's an assignment, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. What I've discovered is that love is an assignment that sometimes you're really, really good at. And then you study for it. You put all this time and energy into it, and then over time you discover that when it's time to take the test, you are nervous, you're overwhelmed, and those jitters get in the way of you being able to pass the test. And I think when I think about love, I think my first relationship with it definitely came from my relationship with my mother. Okay. And it took me a long time to understand that relationship with my mother has impacted every other relationship that I've ever had in my life, including my relationship with my kids. Right. Because I discovered that that's the first real relationship you ever enter into, but it's also the first relationship that you enter into sometimes without giving consent to.
Right.
Yeah. So I didn't give consent to loving my mother, but it also became this attachment, and that, as we know with parents, you just get this attachment and this bond that oftentimes you can't describe. So when I became a father at the age of 16, I was able to sort of remember. I'm like, okay, so this must be what that relationship must feel like. And so when I saw my son, and I tell this story all the time, I was 16. He was born December 30th, 1994, 7 pounds, 3 ounces, 21 inches long. I cut the umbilical cord.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was there.
Yeah.
I cut the umbilical cord, separating him from his mom, and I held him, and again, this whole idea of looking down at him looking at me, and I'm 16, and I'm like, okay, this is my assignment. This is what I have to do. Mm-hmm. And so it was then that I sort of discovered, I'm like, okay, this is what love must feel like. And over time, I'm like, I don't want to be in love anymore. I don't like kids. They're lunatics. They're crazy. Because I know, I'm sorry, son. I know you might be watching this, right?
I can attest.
But
mine's only like one.
Yeah.
But
it's real.
He's crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because they pull on every emotion that is known in you. They'll find things about you to sort of set you off and trigger you. And I discovered
all your own stuff.
Your own stuff.
All your own stuff.
All your stuff. It's not even theirs. It's your stuff kind of unfolding in this relationship with your kids. And I went from being a father of a 13-year-old as a single dad, fast forward to fathering seven sons through the I love that facial expression.
I was hoping that you just drop it.
7.
Yeah, see, like this, you can ask a follow-up to that.
And
I will.
Yeah, 7 sons. And my sons, when they would go to high school, people would assume that I was like some kind of pimp or something. And I later learned that this was the narrative that my sons were telling people at school.
Are you serious?
Yes. I'm like, so here I am, this proud parent walking in for parent-teacher conferences and not knowing that people think I'm some kind of pimp and having a bunch of women, and this is where my kids come from.
You're only making boys.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Man, 7 in a row.
My goodness.
That's cool.
Yes.
That's fantastic. All right,
But,
I do have to ask the follow-up. Explain 7 sons.
Yeah, dude. Okay. So I started working for
Explain the 7 sons. It's like the beginning of something.
Yeah, it sounds like a musical.
Right.
Well, at times it was a musical.
Yeah.
But I fostered. So I did foster care and adoption through the abuse and neglect system. And so I had the greatest opportunity to father sons through the abuse system. And probably one of the most life-changing experiences I had. Because, again, when you tie this back to love, I thought love came with, like, there were conditions. I always say unconditional love. I love my kids unconditionally. But that was absolutely a lie. I had conditions on everything that I operated out of. And I didn't even know that I was doing it. And ultimately, what I discovered too, is that my love language was flawed because of my own childhood trauma. And so here I am parenting out of these this trauma, and I thought I was the greatest parent in the world, but I was failing left and right, and I soon discovered that is a part of love, is that you fail at it. It doesn't always feel good. You make tons and tons of mistakes, and it's not the Hollywood version that people make it out to be. It really requires you to work. And one of my sons said something so profound that I still hold on to. He said, "Did you think this was going to be easy, Dad?" And I told him, I said, "Well, yeah, I had a big house, a little bit of money, and a whole lot of love, and I thought that would be enough to encompass this idea of what makes a family."
I have a very quick follow-up to why did you think that a big house, a lot of love, and a little bit of money would be enough? Because you're tapping into something that I struggle with a lot. Yeah. But I'm curious why you thought it.
I think media told me that. I think there were images that I saw on television growing without a father. So I saw things that said, okay, if you have a house, this builds that relationship and that family. If you have a job and a career, it also impacts that. If you have a little bit of money, doesn't matter, just as long as you have some money, that's enough. And I soon discovered it was none of that even mattered.
I think they're helpful, but are not what they're not the things like, oh yeah, I got it now.
Yeah, no, because there are a lot of people with big houses and children suffer in those places. Right. It's really so much about really recognizing who you are, and then really building on those relationships with your kids. And so I think, man, the best thing I've ever done is really learning to allow myself to just be, we're sitting at this table talking about being vulnerable. I thought my boys were in an attack. I thought they wanted my alpha role. Right. And they were like, dude, you suck. I don't want your role at all. You can have that. Nobody wants that. You can have that. And all this time in my head as this man, I thought, this is what they needed, but what they needed for me to be vulnerable, to be, loving and nurturing, and these were all things that go against what I've been taught men to do.
Right. So to bounce off that, with the idea of love as an assignment, where, with assignments you study, and so you learn how to study from other people, and so you, as a father, without a father, there's a gap of education in some ways of there are no footsteps to follow. Yeah. Where did you learn from? Who did you learn from?
That's great. That's a great question. Media is powerful, which I think what we're doing here is even just, it speaks to that. I had television shows that really, really spoke to me, like the Heathcliff Huxtables and Michael Landon from Little House on the Prairie.
Which is awesome, by the way.
Which is awesome.
Anytime you reference Little House on the Prairie, I'm like, are you really?
The best show. And I think it was in those spaces where I saw these men being nurturing and caring and loving.
They really cared about their kids.
They really cared about their kids. And I think over time, I kept replaying those, and I'm like, that's where you have to be. But it was really difficult because, Thursday I turn the television off and I'm left with the reality of, that's great, but I don't have that. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of studying. It was a lot of reading books. It was a lot of taking trainings. How do, I'm trying to think of childhood development, just a list of things that really sort of helped me love languages and love and logic, and just sort of reading all these books and trying to gather all this information and trying it out. Right. So a lot of it was just sort of trying it out and then saying, that didn't work, so let's do something different.
Did you wait, sorry, I have to point something out. Okay. The funny thing is, I know my friends really well. Yeah. After you just told everything that you just told, their entire body language just changed because they were just like, holy shit, who is this guy? Because
I don't have 7 sons.
Because I remember the first time it happened to me, but they was this guy seems kind of cool, and then they were like, this guy is really cool. It happens the same way. You turn your chest towards them, and you're just like, oh. Yeah, I liked it. I just noticed it because they both shifted, and I was like, there it was.
In my head, I went, I'm learning something tonight.
Well, it's fascinating that you had mentioned the portrayals in media because I grew up without a father, and I was the child of a single mom, and so there was no example to follow in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. And I will jokingly tell people that, I learned a lot about how to get through high school from the OC. There were characters that I watched that were just kind of you take your cues and be like, all right.
OC's been referenced 2 or 3 times now in the show.
Yeah. Well, there's reasons. Right. And then on the flip side, poor portrayals of that and taking those too seriously. Like Moulin Rouge fucked me up.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, this is what love is? I want that.
Yeah.
And like you start memorizing all the words of the songs, like that's somehow going to make a difference. And like,
I wasn't ready for Moulin Rouge being like your bro. I think it screwed me up.
House on the Prairie.
Right, in Moulin Rouge.
but seriously, I mean, it's a great end of the spectrum of like great examples and like cinematic experiences meant to fluff up your emotions that if you take in the wrong ways, it's like a diet of like. It's the entertainment equivalent of like Doritos, where it's like a meal here and there is great, but if you make this your entire diet, an expectation of like what food is, man, you're gonna have problems.
That's true.
And that's what I did with like Moulin Rouge was so captivating, and it filled a void that was like available that I just kind of was like, that's what I want. That's how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
And spent like a decade trying to.
Relationship's real. That relationship in that movie is really messed up. Very romantic.
What are you saying?
Just saying. Things make sense now.
I've had trouble finding and keeping healthy relationships.
Yeah.
So, not to single-handedly put it on Moulin Rouge. No movie's that powerful, but like. Yeah, it's an easy narrative to kind of like draw the line between A and B right there.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you guys just had that emotional reaction to me and what you just described, because I just had a good friend say to me something today that just really blew me back. And I'm driving, and we were talking about something around careers, and I was like, "How dare you put me on the couch while I'm driving? I'm not asking for therapy." But she was so profound when she told me this.
Who was it?
Oh, a good friend of mine named Amy.
Okay.
So Amy,
that's why I asked.
She said good. She told me, text me good luck today too. But what she said to me that just really messed me up, she was like, you know what? You do a really good job of bringing people in emotionally where they think that they know you. But in actuality, people don't know you at all. And I was like...
All right, Amy. Also,
like,
yeah.
Yeah. And so it really helped me understand. So even coming here today was intentional. Like accepting the invitation was intentional, because I would say to myself... and this is me just really being at the table, being vulnerable. I would typically say to people like, oh, I'm really an introvert. So that would be the language I would convince myself of. And the title I would give myself to say, no, I just don't like people getting close to me.
You don't need to get that close.
Don't get that close to me, right? And so I saw myself doing it at an invite that you guys had me on Friday. You're like, hey, let's go for a drink. I'm like, okay, I'll be there. But instantly, I saw myself finding ways to roll back to keep from building community. Mm-hmm. And it all stems back from just those experiences growing up as kids where I learned that you can't trust people, so you keep them at this bank.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was really eye-opening for me, and I'm like, okay, I've got to do a better job of making sure that I move past just the surface and allow people to get to know me.
That's funny that you bring that up, because before we started rolling, someone close to us pointed out, saying you guys are very good at acting vulnerable.
Not someone, my wife.
I didn't want to drop names.
My wife pointed a very critical thing about this show.
About us.
Yeah, about us three specifically.
In that, like, this whole premise of us being the guys who are out here talking about feelings, like, that can be a front.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to hide behind, like, performative vulnerability, where it's like you dangle just enough to make people trust you.
Yes.
And, like, it's a tool to be like, all right, now you think that, like, I'm sensitive and, you know, working on stuff.
Yeah.
And people look up to you for that vulnerability without even touching the deep ocean beneath that of just I am so fucking sad.
Sad. I'm so scared. There's so many emotions.
Yes.
For sure.
And like that's the kind of the things, like, it's been an interesting quick tangent about like a lot of the memes I've been seeing about depression, sadness, tears, and stuff like that. I'm throwing a fucking emo party called Get Sad. And like
that's a good plug.
Right. But like even that, like emotion, vulnerability emotions have now become the new front for like whatever. And you can hide behind these things of like, you know, I'm really sad. Okay, but like, are your friends going to ask you why and how you're doing deep down as to like what's going on beneath that? Or do they just kind of be like, oh, I'm sorry to hear you're sad.
Hang in there.
Hang in there.
It's going to be okay.
Right. And it's like without... You know, and I'm glad that you have Amy to say that, to like kind of like poke through that and say like, look, but like if we're gonna try and be real, like let's not pretend that like this patina of vulnerability makes a lick of difference in the long run, because it doesn't. It's destructive.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I mean, I deal with that even a lot like myself, right? The idea of like being the faker, like all the time. It's easy for me, and we've talked about this like a million times, to like perfectly architect a situation, to give you exactly what you need.
Yeah.
And then I just leave. Like I'm off the hook. Then I'm just like, all right, like I'm all set. You know what I mean? Like you feel good, you feel like we connected, and actually I am bored. Or
Why do you do
I
that?
don't care. For me, it's like a total defense mechanism. Mm-hmm. It's a total defense mechanism.
Defense against what?
At the end of the day, like deep rejection. Like that's honestly like what's underneath of it. Because it's, if I show Matt or if I show Cole or if I show Kate like the real me, like, ugh. I've had people walk out on me and they knew the real me, and that terrifies me, right? Mm-hmm. And I've had people like kind of turn on me or like kind of do the bait and switch thing. So I just learned like, no, if you just give them what they want and learn how to socially exit like super well, like find the right timing, end the conversation perfectly. Say you're an introvert. Dude, the number of times I've said I'm an introvert and I'm really tired.
Yes.
Like, the number of times
I feel like you were singing my song.
Like, I know. And the reality is, like, sometimes I've been like, no, I can't. Like, like, thanks for the invite. And I'm just, like, at home, not even reading or listening to music, but just like sitting in a chair, just being like,
yes.
At least I'm not faking it right now.
Yeah.
Like that's the like feeling I get all the time. It's like, well, at least I'm not faking it with just me.
Yeah.
And it just comes from that deep sense of like, well, at least no one's rejecting me.
Jesus.
Like that's the core underneath thing that's going on.
Wow.
Well, you guys are really hitting on all the notes that the whole point of why I just asked these questions. I mean, the reality is like, I think everybody experiences moments when the most loyal people leave them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, whether it's a
Yeah.
father,
Yeah.
whether it's a wife, whether it's a child, whether it's,
Right.
I mean, long-time relationship, doesn't matter. Like, I think part of the human experience is, like, dealing with these, like, super shitty things, but we rarely acknowledge them for what they are. We generally like take them and like create this weird meaning about them, about us.
Yeah.
Because, well, if this person left, therefore I'm X.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because this person did this, therefore I'm not enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This person like that, I'm obviously, I mean, fill in the blanks. I mean, the stories and narratives that happen from this scenario are kind of endless. The thing that I think at the end of the day and the power that you do have is to go like, yeah, that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was super shitty. You should talk about it.
Yeah.
The other camera just shut off. But you still have to remember that what they did doesn't define you.
Right.
Which is probably the hardest thing to do. And like, I still struggle with that. I think everybody struggles with that. But the biggest truth is like, it doesn't matter what has happened to you. At the end of the day, you actually get to define who you are.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of hope from that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we all have had plenty of times when it's been like...
It's interesting you say you get a lot of hope from that. And this is a little bit, again, being honest, like, I actually get some dread from that.
Like, you get to define who you are.
Yeah, like, I get a little bit of dread.
Why do you get some dread from, like, you another shot at it?
So it's interesting, when you phrase it like things like another shot, another opportunity, it almost has this positive spin. A lot of times for me, like, I now have to do the work. I now have to study, to borrow some of your language, and like figure out who I am again, right? Or figure out who I am.
And that's
so like
that's a lot of digging for me.
Yes.
And that's just like, and it's been I've done a lot of personal work in the last. I feel like you turn it up, my guy. But really, like, that's been the work of my last like year and a half or so. Is just peeling back like layers of just useless junk, man.
But like, do you? Like, I understand what you're talking about, of pulling away the layers and feeling like, but you are always there. I think the lie is that you, somehow, through all of the mess, you're completely lost. And I think that you probably went down a path that was not ultimately the path that you wanted on. But, like, at the same time, you still had to go down that path. I think we, like, get hung up on the regret side, which is something that I struggle with big time. Because, like, I think people say, like, there are no regrets. last episode we talked about
Yeah.
it. There are regrets. I think there are regrets.
Yeah.
You don't want to go a certain path.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm really on this hell-bent kick on, like, you actually get to define the story at the end of the day. Like, that to me is what gets me, like, really
Yes.
like riled up. You don't. You get the last word. No one else does, unless you let them. That's the
one thing that you said that kind of like I resonated with more than I expected to was the again part. It's not the fact that you get to define yourself. It's that you're at it again. Like whenever the last time you defined yourself with whatever relationship, with whatever job, with whatever whoever, you're like, this is who I am. This is who I want to be. That gets taken away, and you are back. It feels like at square one, and you have to define yourself again.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is it kind of like, it's exhausting.
Oh yeah.
That sense of here we go, and like, it is part of its perspective,
right.
but part of it is like, life is really fucking hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy, and if you don't, when you get knocked on your ass for whatever reason, you're knocked on your ass for a while.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that the again part speaks to that, where for whatever reason we buy into the fact of like these like life will plateau, and if it ever dips down again, like that's on you.
Yeah.
Like
you messed up.
right.
Yeah, you messed
But
up.
no,
You
like
did not.
that. I mean, that is exactly what life is the ups and downs, and like the rebuilding of those downs. And so yes, I absolutely, on the best days, agree with you.
That's. I mean, I'm not saying that everyone can feel exactly where they're at. What my perspective is not something where I'm like, because my perspective is this, therefore you need to come with me now.
Right.
It's more of like a, just remember like the moment that you felt awesome, because like you can feel that way again.
You will feel that way again.
Yeah, that's more that way. Like
Yeah.
you will feel that way again, and like unless you let go entirely, which I don't. And for the record, like for the show, like I don't really invite. I'm never going to invite people on this show that are like super nihilistic and like everything's fucked and like everything.
Right.
I'm. So if that is a philosophy for you, like you can do that.
Yeah.
Not in this space. Like, but it's more of the acknowledging where you're at and then going, let's go there now.
So I think I can maybe expound just a tiny bit on where that gut reaction from me comes
Yeah, because it
from.
was powerful. That's why I was like, ooh.
So that a little bit of that dread I think comes from honestly like mourning. Like so when you have like that kind of like hard change in life, let's say you get let go from a job, or you know whether that's a loss of a family member or a divorce, like I went, whatever it is. I think there's a period of it where you are mourning what you were building, what you are projecting, what you were expecting,
hoping for.
Yeah, and I think there's a part of it where you just kind of go, God, well, now you're gonna make your life your own, and there's this visceral.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
I think I was doing. You know, that's a lot of the visceral reaction to that.
Right.
And so there's been a process for me at least of going, okay, when are you done mourning? I thought it was going to be maybe 3 months after.
No.
3 months after, right? It's going to be a little bit, right? It's going to take some time, and it's going to come and go.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I think we can put a pin in it, but like what I want to say is the only reason why I have that perspective is because of the things that I had been through.
Right.
And like I shared last week, God, I think that was back in February.
Last episode.
We'll talk about the reasons why it's been a while since we've done another episode later. But I know the feeling of like this is happening again. I know the feeling of a long time relationship leaving or like losing a child. Like there's just I've had the up bats where I'm like, I'm about to go for a home run.
Yeah.
And it on repeat, which feels like on repeat. We have very similar builds, and like, well, I did that again. I like literally swung and then like hit my face in the dirt, and then the catcher like started hitting me with the bat. You know, like that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
But like that, like the funny thing is, like after the catcher's done beating your ass, you get to like go up.
You let them
Go like,
heal.
I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, cool. I'm gonna take another swing.
Yeah.
That's it. But like, that's just because I'm like want that hope to be like the defining moment instead of, oh yeah, I was in the dirt. and I'm gonna stay in the dirt.
So I wonder.
Yeah.
Part of me too wonders like, because there's always this idea that once you get there, you gotta get up and get yourself together and go back. But I think we're always, I'll speak for myself, always moving so much that I haven't even had time to just be in the shit and just like, just sort of sit in it and try to understand and just literally pull myself out of it.
Yeah.
I just it's happened to me. I gotta go. There's something else I gotta do. Someone else needs me. I gotta do this. This needs to happen. This check my email. Oh, my Facebook. Oh, so there's always like these things that call me, and I find myself with these tentacles, always trying to just sort of just keep up.
I don't have to deal with that necessarily. I'm gonna go this way.
And part of me wonders, now that I'm thinking about it out loud, is that I wonder. Yeah, I do. So let me just own it. Right? I was going to make an excuse, which I'm good at, right? But let me own that. I purposely put things in the way so that I don't have to go into those spaces.
Right.
Because to go into those spaces, I'm not sure how I'll come out. And so it's like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go in there. So I'll just throw this project in there. I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this.
Keep
going. And then I wake up one morning and I'm like, I'm exhausted. My back hurts. I'm like, oh my God, I just want to sleep. Yeah. And I'm like, then I watch television. I'm like, oh, that must be depression. Oh, I have anxieties. Oh, I probably should get an Ambien. You know, like now I got all this stuff going on. And I'm like, all I want to do is really just figure out who the hell I am and how do I fit into all of this. And I think that's been my biggest hurdle. It's like
high five you.
Yeah, man. And it's that constant like, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And I'm like, will I ever just be still and be just like okay, and just learn how to just be in my shit for a minute, and find a way to come out. But that's been my biggest hurdle, is just sort of figuring out how do I just stay in it for a minute without finding something else that would keep me out of not dealing with my stuff.